What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we have yet another very big update regarding the Nintendo Switch 2, and it's one you want to pay attention to very closely because we have some extremely interesting developments with regards to Furukawa's statements about the recent rumors and reports from VGC and Eurogamer, and also more updates on the graphics SOC for the Switch 2 that might shed some light on what is really happening behind the scenes and possibly explain some of the now conflicting information regarding the Switch 2 and its graphical capabilities. So if you're excited about this and enjoy this type of content and want to help out the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe for more. Now, as the info about Switch 2 continues to be reported and we see various pieces of fake information spread out across the internet, a lot of the time we will start getting what seems like conflicting reports and also the tried and true denials directly from Nintendo. However, this time the denial from Furukawa is very different from the norm for Nintendo. If you recall in the past, normally Nintendo would just flat out deny that they have any new hardware coming, or they'll deny reports on a more powerful Switch like they did in 2021 when they denied a Switch Pro, and instead released the Switch OLED. This time, however, Furukawa seemed determined to deny the reports by VGC and Eurogamer regarding the meetings with devs behind closed doors at Gamescom 2023, where it was reported that Nintendo met with devs and showed off the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo, said to be running on DLSS upscaled to 4K with ray tracing and looking extremely impressive, along with the report from Eurogamer saying that Nintendo showed a 4K 60 frames per second demo of Breath of the Wild running on Switch 2 behind closed doors as well. However, during an investors call with Furukawa, he told investors that rumors are circulating mainly on the internet as if they were public information, but he said that they are inaccurate. And he was specifically talking about the reports that Nintendo was demonstrating the next gen Switch behind closed doors at the Summer Gamescom meeting in 2023, and basically saying that this was untrue information. Now, it's important to point out that Furukawa did not deny a Switch 2 is coming in 2024, and he did not deny that a Switch 2 exists. We've got to make that very clear. What Furukawa was focused on was the recent reports about how Nintendo showed the Switch 2 to developers, and he was trying to point out very clearly that the rumors circulating on the internet were as if they were public information. So basically he was saying that people are treating these reports by VGC and Eurogamer as fact, like it's something that is without a doubt being done by Nintendo. And he's specifically calling those reports out as being inaccurate on top of that. So yet again, not Switch 2 being real, no, but denying those reports, talking about the 4K DLSS Matrix and Zelda demos, the Tegra 239 SOC, and revealing all of those behind closed doors in August at Gamescom. So first of all, upon further examination, I don't personally think Furukawa was lying just so sales momentum doesn't slow down for the Switch OG for the holidays. A lot of people thought that, oh, Furukawa was just lying here because they don't want the Switch to slow down with their hardware sales this holiday. However, if he wanted to keep that mindset away from the Switch 2, all he had to do was say that Nintendo simply has no hardware coming anytime soon and that they are focused on the current Switch. But instead, he focused on those reports instead of outright denying a Switch 2 is coming next year. So the question is, why? Why would Furukawa be so focused on denying those particular reports? Well, there are a few reasons that I can think of, and one very big reason that no one has brought up yet is that Nintendo is very likely deep in getting into pre-production for Switch 2 right now with their partnerships with parts and suppliers for this new console. So if these reports regarding what chip the Switch 2 is using and what the Switch 2 can do graphically are being treated as fact or common knowledge, it then starts to become a problem, not necessarily for Nintendo, but it becomes a problem for Nintendo's partners that are in actual production of the Switch 2, especially if what is being reported is not exactly what is inside the internal makeup of the Switch 2, and Nintendo's partner, which is extremely likely to be Samsung, they are very likely to start questioning Nintendo directly, saying, hey, wait a minute, you guys, Nintendo, made an agreement with us to produce these chips for Switch 2, yet these reports are saying it's actually something that is not what we are actually using for this console. And then they would probably ask Nintendo or inquire of them, are you guys going with another partner to make Switch 2? Or are you going to stay with us? Which would then cause more of an issue for Nintendo to go ahead and then debunk the rumors as being inaccurate. since it seems odd that Nintendo would go after those types of reports when there's already court testimony dating back to 2021 that Nintendo informed Activision Blizzard of what the tech range of the Switch 2 would be going for. Reports from a few months ago focused more on the graphical performance of the Switch 2 and what chip it was using. So the reasoning for Furukawa to debunk this is a little bit different here when you take a look at it. Hopefully you guys are following me thus far. Now, getting into the rumored, but not confirmed, but the rumored chip for Switch 2, the Nvidia Orin-based T239 SOC, which is an old 8nm Samsung produced chip from 2021, there is now some very realistic and reasonable questions regarding this chip that has popped up very recently, both on my channel and in the last video we did, but also with the video that Digital Foundry did trying to emulate the actual performance of the T239 chip, and the results at the end of the video were actually conflicting with what the rumors and reports from VGC and Eurogamer were reporting. Now, on a side note, some people commented on my last video that I may have a problem with Digital Foundry or something, but I just want to make it clear that this is not true. I watched just about all their videos of the data and frame rates and resolutions and comparisons, and they do a great job in their work. The only slight issue I have with them, to be honest with you, is when they start inserting their own opinions on telling the audience how much better something looks, or when they call it a generational difference, for example, yet needing to zoom way in on the screen and trying to point out one particular effect that most people will never notice during gameplay.
I think it's obvious enough to say that there are generational differences in fidelity here when you turn on the ray tracing.
That's the kind of stuff that gets pointless, but either way, they still do a very good job, and I just want to make that clear that I still do support Digital Foundry. So getting back to Digital Foundry's video though, on the T239 SOC, they brought out basically all the connect the dot evidence of Nintendo most likely using the chip for Switch 2, yet showed at the end of the video that the 8nm chip and power consumption of the chip didn't make much sense for a portable console. It's just not designed for it, really. Which was kind of funny seeing them say that when they had just said at the very start of the video that they're very certain that it is that chip.
Today I'm going to be building a picture of the silicon almost certainly at the heart of the new hardware. There is still controversy though, and unresolved questions. The T239 chip looks to be a Samsung 8nm processor, so it's going to be big. It may not be particularly power efficient. Some believe it's not really viable for a handheld. On that score, we'll just need to wait and see.
However, it gets much more interesting after that. Now, since we know that Samsung is extremely likely the ones that are going to be producing the Switch 2 SoC for mass production, we know right now that Samsung is gearing up for their next Galaxy S24 smartphones, which will come in 3nm and 4nm chipsets. The 8nm process is simply not being used nearly as much in mass production these days, and as most agree, it is not suited in this day and age for a portable device. And for example, even the Steam Deck, which is based on 2020 technology at this point, is using a 7nm chip, and so is the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Taking all that into consideration then, and combining that with Furukawa's denial of the Gamescom report, the question then arises, what then could Nintendo be actually using for Switch 2 if by chance those reports end up being partially false or basically missing some key info? Now, first of all, this is a disclaimer, okay? This is just a possibility, and at the same time, I'm not trying to say that the graphics IP of the Switch isn't Nvidia based, and I'm not trying to say that the T239 chip from a tech perspective isn't being used. I'm not trying to say that, but here, since there are some disparities in these reports, I think it's fair to list some possible outcomes. Now, it was just recently revealed back in September of this year 2023 that Samsung, for no reason given publicly, keep that in mind, for no reason seemingly, is skipping their Exynos 2300 chip and moving from Exynos 2200 right to the 2400 for the Galaxy S24. And the odd thing is that Samsung canceled plans for mass production of this chip right before they were about to start it in September, like we brought out. And along with that, the specs of this chip sound honestly kind of like a perfect fit for a Switch 2. The Exynos 2300 chip had its own machine learning tensor chip capabilities, and it had the newest ARM Cortex CPU, and yes, the GPU is in fact based on AMD's RDNA 2 technology for its graphics, which is what's powered by PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. But before anyone goes crazy in the comments about me bringing up AMD here, Just relax for a moment and try to see this more as a chip Nintendo could be interested in to use, but they'd likely only use part of the chip, mainly the size of it, the CPU and its power consumption, for example. Just because the chip was designed as a stock chip with RDNA 2 inside of it doesn't necessarily mean Nintendo will want to use that. Remember, we are just speculating here on some of the possibilities. But if Nintendo wasn't happy with the 8nm process, but say they really liked the graphics IP of the Tegra 239 chip, they could theoretically take just the Nvidia graphics IP from that chip and use it in a customized Exynos 3nm or 4nm chip already made by Samsung, which would give them the easier backwards compatibility with Switch OG and possibility of DLSS, while technically not being the same chip as what was reported by these websites. Also, as we talked about before, I think it's unlikely the Switch 2 will be rendering games at 4K, even with DLSS or FSR. I think 1440p is probably the range people should be expecting, but only as a resolution it's upscaling to. Obviously, the Switch 2 will output at 4K on your TV with its HDMI connection, which would be a natural upscale on your TV, but I think 1440p upscaled from lower resolutions will be the norm, which would be kind of similar to Xbox Series S. But yet again, I want to make it very clear that we are just listing possibilities based on Furukawa's comments and how less viable it is in 2024 for Nintendo to use an 8nm chip when there is far better options for power consumption by Samsung. And then connecting all this together, it can make sense as to why both Furukawa's statements is actually him telling the truth while still having most of what the rumors and reports of the Switch 2 also being true. Either way, guys, it's very exciting stuff to think about, and the truth of what Nintendo's going to be using for Switch 2 will very likely be revealed in 2024, so we can finally move on to talking about the games the Switch 2 has, especially for things like Metroid Prime 4, which I'm extremely excited for, as you know. Alright, that's going to do it for this one, but please let me know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.